Hi, I'm Reuben Saltzman with Structure Tech Home Inspections. Today I'm going to share with you some of my favorite books from the past 4 years, and this has nothing to do with home inspections. Yeah, so I thought I'd start out this video by sharing that information. This is not home inspection related. If you came here for my regular home inspection weekly video on something or another related to houses, come back next week. I'll probably have something for you then. But this week, I'm just sharing some of my favorite reads over the past 4 years. I did a blog post back in 2019 talking about all of my favorite books from the last 5 to 10 years, and it's been a while. I try to read a book every week. I don't necessarily get through that many, but I go through a lot of books. I do a ton of them on Audible, and every once in a while, I will read an actual printed book. But my preference is definitely using my Kindle. So I go through a lot of these books. I end up talking to a lot of people who read a lot of books. I don't know what it is, but we just kind of attract each other, and I find myself spending more and more time with other people who read a ton of books. And we're always sharing with each other, what have you read lately? What are some of your favorite books? What's your favorite stuff on parenting or marriage and relationships? What's your favorite books about business or leadership? We're always talking about this stuff. So I put together a list. I've made this into a blog post, but I realize that a lot of people prefer just watching videos. So if you're of that type, here's a video where I'm not going to read the whole list, but I'm going to read the ones that I just felt were absolutely, I could not skip these books. I'll power through about, I don't know, a dozen of them here. I've got them on my screen because I cannot remember the full titles. All I can remember is the short title. Have you noticed how everybody does that with a book now? Instead of having this book, I'll start with the first one. Fantastic book, The Gap and the Gain. That's what I call it, The Gap and the Gain. But then we've got a semicolon, and then it says, The High Achiever's Guide to Happiness, Confidence, and Success. So you got this description that follows the book. That's a new way to do it. That's the way to catch readers. I'm going on such a tangent here. But the book, again, it's The Gap and the Gain. This is by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy. One of the best books I think I've ever read. It's all about thinking about your gains, thinking about the positive things that you have achieved in your life, thinking about where was I 3 years ago, where am I today, and being happy with that, being at peace with it, versus thinking about where you want to be, where you could be, where other people are. That's the gap, and that's where unhappiness lies. So that's my quick summary of it. I'm not doing deep dives into any of these, just very short summaries. Next book, Cant Hurt Me, Master Your Mind and Defy the Odds by David Goggins. What an inspirational book. I didn't find myself falling in love with the book in the moment as I was reading it. There were a lot of great stories. It was definitely engaging. I really enjoyed listening to all of his stories. But then after I was done with the book, I found myself going back to so many of his stories and being inspired. One of the biggest things he talks about, one of my biggest takeaways, he talked about trying to push yourself. And this guy, man, he pushed himself. He was, well, I won't get into all this stuff, but he set all kinds of records for pull-ups and running on a broken leg. And I don't remember what else he did, but he inspired me, keep pushing more and more on my workouts. It's like if I lift this many pounds this week, increase it by 5% next week and keep increasing it. And man, what a difference that made over about a 1 to 2 year period, how much more I was doing. And I will credit David Goggins for that. Next book, Unlimited Memory, How to Use Advanced Learning Strategies to Learn Faster, Remember More, and Be More Productive by Kevin Horsley. Man, that title is a mouthful. This is all about memorization, memorizing phone numbers, addresses, people. Most importantly, people. Gives so many great mnemonic devices in this book about how to remember people's names. And I don't ever forget people's names anymore. Never say never. I still forget, but I am so much better at remembering people's names after having read this book and putting some of the stuff into action. Really great book. And man, for all these books, I am just scratching the surface, just trying to give you a taste of what these books are about, but they're all great. Outwitting the Devil, The Secrets to Freedom and Success by Napoleon Hill. Now, this book was written in 1938, and at the time, he considered this way too controversial to publish, and it was hidden away forever. And if I got the story straight, his wife never wanted this published. She has passed on, and it was somebody in the family who allowed this to get published. And it wasn't published until 2011. And it's basically him interviewing the devil. That's the premise of this book. It is this super long interview, and it's all about how the devil keeps people down, all the tools he uses to keep people from achieving success in life. Fascinating read. Okay, I'm not going to get into details. Next one, Deep Work, Rules for Focused Success in a Distracted World by Cal Newport. And this is really focused on knowledge workers, people who spend time sitting at a desk, thinking about things, coming up with projects, ideas, and how much all of the distractions in today's world decimates their ability to do solid, deep work. And man, there's a huge attack here in this book on social media, on dings on our phone and text messages and phone calls and all these things. And it really inspired me to make a lot of changes in the way that I use any of that stuff. I definitely do not have notifications turned on my computer. When I get emails, I don't know. Now when I check my email, I do it twice a day. I do it in the morning and the later in the afternoon. I do it according to a calendar. I don't respond to things as they come in because it takes away from important work that I have to do. And that's just a little taste of what I got out of this book. There's so much stuff. Again, the book is Deep Work. Next one, Why We Sleep, Unlocking the Power of Sleep and Dreams by Matthew Walker. I am a poor sleeper. I'm a horrible sleeper. I have read a ton of books on sleep. I'm always trying to figure out what do I need to do to get better sleep. This is the best book I've read. And this guy is definitely an expert on sleep. So much fantastic advice, so much history about what happens when we sleep and, well, frankly, why we sleep. It's right in the title. Fascinating book, and this guy is considered an expert on sleep. Next, Breath, The New Science of a Lost Art by James Nestor. Now, how are you going to read a book on breath? We all know how to breathe. I don't need a book on this, but somebody recommended this to me, and wow, this was a mind-blowing book. Did you know that a lot of your dental problems are related to the way that you breathe? And breathing through your nose has so many health benefits. It can improve your physical endurance, does a lot for your dental. You know what? Let me put it this way. I started going to sleep with my mouth taped shut after reading this book to train myself to not open my mouth while I'm sleeping. No more mouth breathing while I'm asleep. Yeah. Weird. Someone came up to me, and a family member, like, wait, so you duct tape your mouth shut? He said, no, that's absolutely weird and crazy. I would never use that. I use medical tape. Next is the Wim Hof Method by Wim Hof. This guy promotes two main things in his book, and it's exposure to cold, maybe cold baths, cold showers, and doing this breathing method called the Wim Hof breathing method. And it's where you take these really long, deep breaths, big inhalation, big exhalation. You do this 40 times in a row, and then you breathe everything out and you hold your breath. And you do a few series of this, and it will take you to a different place. This is way past meditation. This is like you are on a different planet. It's crazy. Don't knock it until you try it. There's even an app for this if you want to just skip right to the app. But the book is fascinating, talking about all the health benefits of these two things. Definitely man, that's a must-read book. Next book, The 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work, a practical guide from the country's foremost relationship expert by John Gottman. Now, the title says it all. I definitely do consider this guy the world's or country's foremost relationship expert. One of the best books I've read on marriage, and there's a lot of stuff that I've taken out of this book and applied in my own marriage. Very, very thankful for having read this book. Next, The Catalina of the American Mind, How Good Intentions and Bad Ideas Are Setting Up a Generation for Failure by Greg Lukianoff. I hope I said his name right. I really tried to figure out how to pronounce it, and I could not hear any pronunciation. But this is probably the most disturbing book I may have ever read, at least that I've read recently. It's all about college. I shouldn't say it's all about colleges. It's a lot about colleges and defending free speech and what colleges are doing to shut down anything that they deem as dangerous to the students. And it really makes me worried, having a 15-year-old son who's going to be going to college someday. It's eye-opening. If you got kids who are going into college, maybe even already are in college, you might want to read this book. It's fascinating. Next, Who, Not How, The Formula to Achieve Bigger Goals Through Accelerating Teamwork by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy. Yeah, second appearance on my list. I started out with their book, Gap in the Game. So Who, Not How, it's kind of summed up in the title. It's talking about how in business, if you've got some idea, you want to do something new, a lot of the time people will rack their brains trying to figure out exactly how to achieve something. What do I do? How is this going to happen? And they focus so much on the how, when really they need to be thinking about who can I hire to do this? Who's good at this? That's where you need to spend your time. And you know, I heard what the premise of the book was before I read it, but after going through it, it was worth the read. So much stuff that was just eye-opening, and it was a real change in mindset for me after reading that. Last one on here, Extreme Ownership, How U.S. Navy SEALs Lead and Win by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin. SEALs. It's all about accepting responsibility, accepting ownership for everything in your life. Everything that happens to you, everything that you touch, there is some way that you should be owning it. And you should never be blaming other people for really anything when there's something you could have done differently. And there is always something that you could have done differently. So it's all about taking ownership of stuff. Really good read. Okay, I've got so many other books that I'd like to cover. Please read the notes in this video. If you're into this, you'd like some more recommendations, or click my link to go to my blog. I got a lot more. This is just a quick list of them. Again, I'm Reuben Saltzman with Structure Tech Home Inspections, and my next video will surely have something to do with home inspections. Thanks for watching. Take care.